This episode is brought to you by Marqeta. When it comes to your payments provider, you can't afford to compromise. Marqeta's modern payment solutions flex with your business without the trade-offs. Stable and agile, secure and innovative, scalable and configurable. If they say you can't have it all, don't believe them. Your business demands more. Choose a payments provider that delivers more. Choose Marqeta. Visit marqeta.com/Spotify to learn more.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana makes car selling fast and easy from start to finish. Enter your license plate or VIN and get a real offer in seconds, down to the penny. If you accept, Carvana will come pick up your car from your driveway. Or you can drop it off at one of our car vending machines. Either way, you get paid instantly. It's fast, transparent, and 100% online. Car selling that saves your time. That's Carvana.
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Kelly Green Hour. Unfortunately, for the third consecutive week, it's not a victory Green Hour as the Philadelphia Eagles lost in overtime to the Los Angeles Chargers 22-19. And I don't even know. I'm going to try to put a show together here. I'm at a loss for words here, Connor. As always, I'm your host, LJ Harrell, and joined by my co-host, Connor Donald. Connor, I know you're not feeling all that well, but I'm sure that game yesterday didn't help either.
No, I caught what has been running through this household, and then I had to stay up late. Because for you guys, it's like 12 o'clock, well, later last night. For you guys, it's like 12:30. For me, it's 1:30 in the morning when that game wraps up. And to stay up and that be the end result and to have to watch what I had to watch. I mean, we're going to dive into a whole lot of different things about this game. But I mean, this is just, yeah. Words are hard to come. Social media comes by them easily because they're hiding behind a keyboard, but words are hard to come by today here in recording and live.
Is on the collapse. 4 words right now. The collapse is on. Before we jump into the game, as always, follow us on Twitter at Kelly Green Hour. Follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10. Follow me on Twitter at LJHarrell54 and follow the Eagles Pimple Network on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you get your podcasts at Eagles Pimple Network. If you're joining us live and you want to talk about the game, let's talk about the game. Let us know your thoughts. Are they going to make the playoffs? Are they going to win a game the rest of the year? This is if I mentioned this to you, Connor, before we jumped on. If the Eagles blow this division, they were 8-2, literally had over a 99% chance at, winning the division and kind of pretty much putting Dallas away if they could have won that game after the Detroit game. But no, they went to Dallas, blew a 21-0 lead, and it's been all downhill since then. And if they blow this division, I don't know how Sirianni can survive it. I know he won the Super Bowl last year, but I know they've been to the Super Bowl twice in 4 years, but this would be the second collapse in 3 years. They were 10-1 in 2023 before losing 5 of their last 6 before getting blown out by Tampa in the playoffs. They lost the division to Dallas that year, and Dallas had a good record there. Dallas isn't good this year, but they're right on your heels. They kind of have that emotional thing going with the kneeling passing and, rejuvenation with the trade for Quinnen Williams. Dak's playing at an MVP level, unfortunately. All that is in favor of them. Their offense looks 1,000 times better than our offense. All that continues, and the remaining schedule is easier. Again, the Eagles are the only Super Bowl winning team in NFL history not to have back-to-back home games, by the way, in the regular season. Dallas has the Vikings and the Chargers at home the next 2 weeks before finishing with Washington and the Giants. That's Dallas's final 4 games. The Eagles' final 4 games. The Raiders, who you think and we're going to talk about this later this week, how they're a double-digit point favorite over the Raiders, I don't know. Who knows if the Eagles will even be able to score double-digit points? We'll find that out. What's going to help is Lane Johnson will be back, and we know how porous they are without him and how good they are with him. It doesn't make sense that a left tackle has that big of an effect, but he does on this team. Then they have Washington. Then they have at the Bills. And then host Washington. Again, the magic number is 3. Could have been 2 if they won yesterday. They did not. So any combination of Eagles wins and Dallas losses that equal 3 the Eagles can clinch the division. But right now, before we jump into the game, Connor, I have zero faith in this team turning it around, figuring out, and winning this division. And even if they somehow find a way to squeak in the playoffs, they're getting destroyed wildcard weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you draw the comparison with the Dallas Cowboys because obviously, you know, Black Friday, we were thinking about wrapping the division up, and now here we are speaking of them as still a sub 10% chance to win the division and make the playoffs, probably mainly based on the fact that our schedule is far easier to manage. To the same point, you talk about, you know, the Cowboys defense still looks kind of fraudulent at times, but
their secondary does, but their front seven is good.
Yeah, well, definitely. But I mean, but the point that I'm making here is more, if their defense gives up 35 points, I trust their offense to put up 36. If our defense gives up 21, like last night, 22. Do you trust us to put up 23? No, you can't trust our offense. There's nobody in this world who can sit there and say, yes, I trust this offense to put up the requisite amount of points to counteract whatever the defense gives up. You can't. You cannot. They haven't been able to do it almost. I mean, we've won 8 games, but in all honesty, the defense has been such a pivotal point of every single one of those 8 wins. You can't pinpoint any game where the defense wasn't more equal or more important than the offense in any of those victories. And it's really frustrating to see where we stand and what we're looking at. And like we were talking about before we came on the air, and we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but would this be a fireable offense to have this collapse happen? Yes. With Sirianni? Like, I mean, I agree with you, especially I think one of the biggest things is you continue to go in front of the media and defend Kevin Patullo and say it's not Kevin Patullo. And I know there's a lot of people who are starting to turn the guns over on to Jalen Hurts now, and they're kind of going after Jalen Hurts. There is a very deep, dark area of social media rhetoric that has Tanner McKee better in some form or another. But I mean, I completely disagree. He's got one meaningless regular season game to his name. To think that there's actually people out there who believe that his showing in the preseason is enough to say he's better than Jalen Hurts is just unfathomable to me. But I mean, also to me, the thing that stands out when people talk about this is the one thing that has changed from last season. And we've seen what Jalen Hurts can do with competent offensive coaches. The one biggest difference that people they want to pivot elsewhere and blame Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts said that last night was by far his worst game of his career. I would argue the worst game of his career. But the one thing that is different from this year and prior years is Kevin Patullo. It's the play caller. It's the basic ass play calling, the terrible route concepts.
I will say something compared to last year, though. The first 4 weeks of the season last year, they did try to run Kellen Moore's offense, and it wasn't good. Then they went to a running game. I think this year, with the running game, is not helping all that. And I know Saquon had a 52-yard touchdown run, had over 100 yards rushing, but I think it more comes down to. I know the reports came out, and he was asked about it. And Jalen was asked about his unwillingness to run. I think we're seeing that he really doesn't want to run. Like, it's not part of the game plan anymore. And that will handcuff an offensive coordinator if that's what kind of helps. That was a big part of the Eagles' running game. I know Saquon went for 2,000 last year, but defenses still had to respect Jalen keeping the ball going. He won't do that anymore. It's crazy that yesterday, Justin Herbert, a week off of hand surgery, he ran more efficiently and effectively than Jalen Hurts did yesterday. That should not happen. He looked really good running the football. And in this fourth quarter and overtime, when they ran the RPO and he kept it because Jalen Phillips was crashing down because people didn't think that they had to respect him, and boom, he's going around the corner and getting first downs. And we didn't see that from Jalen. And Jalen just doesn't look as smooth doing it as he did in the past if he ever does run. Like I don't know if you remember the Green Bay game from I don't know if it was like 3-4 years ago, when he had over 100 yards rushing in the first half. He looked so smooth. It looked effortless. We don't see that anymore. And I know that the reports came out and he kind of denied them and said he's going to do what it takes to win, but he obviously isn't running the football. And that is kind of hurting this offense right now.
No, and you can tell when he runs, like you said, like he used to run out there and he'd like he kind of had that thing where he would like kick his leg out, and the defender would have to decide, is he going to run out of bounds or is he going to cut back in and take the hit or try and get the extra yards? And he used to almost always go for the extra yards. Now, like, every play ends in a slide or what's the quickest route to get me out of bounds before I get hit? And I agree with you. I think like I don't know if he's to blame. I don't know where this is coming from. I'm starting to kind of agree with the media on this point that I think that you can trust that the sources may be semi-accurate in this situation, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, yeah, I know like he may be due for a contract coming up here soon, but the way he's playing, he ain't earning himself more money than what he's making now. I can promise you right now. Like this season has been just a precedent setting as to, if you don't have an established offensive mind who can adapt their playbook to you and adapt the offense strictly around you, then it's not going to work. Because I think the difference between, 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025 is the 2 years where we had success. We had offensive coordinators who were very experienced. They've had time calling plays. They can adapt. They can work towards their weapons and what's at their disposal. And most importantly, Jalen Hurts, Brian Johnson, rookie play caller. Kevin Patullo, rookie play caller. And does it surprise you that they're having trouble grasping how to build this offense around Jalen Hurts and what are his strengths and what is he willing to do for this offense? It's starting to look more and more realistic that the reports that came out are probably true, and Jalen Hurts is never going to admit it, and no one's ever going to put a name to the source that gave this information. But there is, like you said, beyond my point that Kevin Patullo is a difference between prior years, the unwillingness to run, the clear unwillingness or difference in how he runs is the second major difference between the prior seasons that we've never seen that seems to be rearing its ugly head towards why this offense is struggling. If you don't have to respect Jalen Hurts and his ability to run, then you turn it into a two-dimensional game. And you already know Jalen Hurts is not a pocket passer. So if you make him throw the ball more and more and more, you see him make mistakes. You see him make those bad throws. You see them get put in third and long situations, in situations they're just not able to get themselves out of. And we're seeing that more and more.
You saw that yesterday when you mentioned it, his worst game, 5 turnovers, 4 interceptions, which is a career high, 2 turnovers in one play, which I've never seen before in my life. He threw the interception. They forced a fumble. He picked it up, and then he fumbled. All he had to do was fall on it, but no, he had it knocked out of his hand. And of course, the ball didn't go out of bounds. It just went right up the sideline, so the Chargers could jump on it. So, how the reports came out, how people within the building were tired of the way he played the game, tired of his conservative nature. Do you think yesterday was one of those games he's like, all right, you guys are tired of me being conservative. I'm going to go out there and let it rip, throwing the ball over the middle of the field and whatnot. And he had his worst game. I don't think there's a chance that Jalen's going to throw the ball over the middle of the field ever again for the rest of the year. Like, he did it yesterday, threw a couple of picks. Now, one was off A.J. Brown's hand. A.J. did have 3 drops. The first or second play of the game. Jalen kind of put it there. It was a little far, yeah, but if A.J. dives for that, maybe he catches it. And then he threw one into the end zone, which was a perfect pass, and the defender kind of got his hand in there. But if you're as a number one receiver, you got to catch that, hold on to it, get the touchdown. Do you think that like Jalen was using that as like, I hate to use the word using it, but it was like his FU game. Like, look, you guys don't like the way I play. All right, I'm going to do it your way. And we saw the outcome. He turned the ball over. He doesn't turn the ball over. That's the one thing that he prides himself on. He had 1 turnover the first,
I think it was 8 weeks.
10 games.
So yeah,
first
something
10,
like that.
10 games or something. In the last 3 weeks, he has 8 turnovers, or the team has 8 turnovers. Like that's not good. But yeah, like that was kind of going through my head. Is like he doesn't talk about it, but he doesn't appreciate all the talk that's going on. And now that it's, he kind of, maybe it's a Hard Knocks thing. Who knows? Like, maybe Hard Knocks, he's maybe changing his tune just because the cameras are always around. But he went out there and was like, all right, I'm going to do it your way. And we saw the outcome, like I mentioned. You saw the turnovers. The offense, for Sirianni being more involved in the offense, it still was all the same. And we saw screens that didn't work, which seems to be a staple of Sirianni. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I can see it, and I can strictly see it because he can sit there and say, we've gone to the Super Bowl behind my arm, behind my legs, behind offenses that were predicated on, matching my strengths so that I can maximize myself as a passer and my pass catchers. And yes, we've often talked about it's boring, it's not sexy, it's not really fun, but it has got us to two Super Bowls. He got to those Super Bowl. He won us one, outplayed Patrick Mahomes, lost us one, but outplayed Patrick Mahomes arguably as well. So at the end of the day, I think that he has every right to go out there and be like, if you guys want to see me let it rip, if you guys want to see me be, Josh Allen-esque. Obviously, he's not going to be Josh Allen, but be Josh Allen-esque or be something that I'm not actually meant to be. When you know that I can win you championships, I'm a winner, and you may have to work around my offense, but that should be the way. I feel like a couple years ago or even last year, we had this discussion. If it works, then why? There's no reason to change it. You don't have to make Jalen Hurts become something he's not, especially when we're winning, when we were winning. It's not sexy, it's not fun, but it's the type of offense at this very point in time we absolutely need more than ever. I will take 17-14 games week in and week out and have the media absolutely roast us for being bad for football and being the most boring team in football. I would take that a million times over what we're seeing right now from this team. And this defense, I promise you would take that type of offense as well, because they just need to know we just can't let them put points up, but you guys just got to put up 2-3 scores, put up the requisite scores to get us there, and we're going to make sure that we stop for you guys. And so I feel like, would Jalen Hurts do this out of spite? Like I said, this year, I think he's due for a potential contract extension. He could sit there and he could absolutely do it. At this point, it feels like A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts could honestly, sadly care less if they were Eagles at the end of this offseason. That's the sad reality that I'm starting to kind of see from the noise and what's been happening. And of course, after the game, there was all the reporters are just eating up everything that they're saying. And I sit there and I'm like, this is sad. The reports had come out throughout the week that they were not going to point the finger at each other. And everybody was tripping over each other to say, it's my fault. Me, I. It's my fault that we lost this game. I don't want to hear that. We heard that earlier in the year. Then they started blaming each other. Now they're back to the I thing and trying to take accountability. It's time to just make some changes and get back to what was working with Jalen Hurts in the past. And that probably means you have to get away from Kevin Patullo and a play caller who just does not have experience calling plays and building an offense around a guy. To me, the standout is it should be Scott Loeffler. He has the experience. He's a play caller for multiple years, because obviously we know that who's the other guy there that is more. No, it's not Moorhead, is it?
Parks Frazier.
Parks Frazier has experience, but he only has half a season of experience calling plays. So to me, you're not going to change everything overnight, but you can't continue to roll out the same offense and the same thing. It's going to create, there's clearly something going on in the building. And to me, it really feels like it's just, at what point is it just going to explode and completely boil over? It feels like Sirianni is losing control.
The only reason Sirianni would not take the play calling from Patullo is if he doesn't think it's Patullo's fault and he thinks it's the quarterback's fault or the player's fault. And that's where the disconnect could be between obviously fans, media, whatever, and what's happening inside the building. And the big question is going to be this is the worst Eagles offense in 20 years. Is Howie going to let this slide into next year? And the answer is probably going to be no. If he doesn't let it slide, who's he putting the blame on? Is he putting it on Sirianni for hiring Patullo, or is he going to put it on for Hurts for being so limited in what he can do? He obviously is not a big fan of throwing the ball across the middle of the field, and we saw reasons why yesterday. He's not, at least it's been portrayed that he's not a fan of under center work, even though that really works for the Eagles offense. Their success yesterday was under center, and then when they were out of the shotgun, it wasn't as successful. So, but when it comes to the coaching, when they had the ball at the 2-yard line, they didn't do the tush push. So I get it. Maybe they're iffy about it because it's been stopped, but they didn't even run the football from the 2. They went pass plays, and then eventually getting a hold on a touchdown pass that went to A.J. Brown, and then they ended up having to kick a field goal. So, like, that's coaching. That's not players. It is on both, obviously. The players have to be better. The coaches have to be better. But, like, it's week 14 and we're still talking about this. Nothing has changed. Something obviously needs to change, and we haven't seen it yet. Coming into this game, I was more worried about the defense. After what happened to the Chicago Bears, giving up over 280 yards rushing, Jalen Carter being out, I was worried that and knowing what the Chargers did last week, going for over 180, 190 on the ground, and knowing Harbaugh, knowing what the type of game plan he was going to instill, I was worried about them. And after that first drive, when they pretty much went down the field like a hot knife through butter, scoring a touchdown, I was like, oh, it's going to be a long day. After that, the defense only gave up 5 field goals. The defense was outstanding. Nakobe Dean, my God, when he blitzes, good luck to the running back. And I know he had the one where nobody blocked him, and he should have had an easy sack on Herbert, and he was able to get off and kind of slide off and maybe get a couple of yards. But he forced a fumble. Nakobe Dean, blitzing was good, and coverage not so good. Zach Bond, I don't know if there's something up with him. He wasn't that great. The defensive line played a lot better than I anticipated. Jordan Davis, my God, like, he was outstanding. The one thing I didn't like was Jalen Phillips try to get after sacks, and then when they got into like that RPO in the shotgun, he went after the running back and didn't contain, and that's where Herbert was able to get some yards. Herbert was the leading rusher for the Chargers. But I give the defense and the receivers for the Chargers did absolutely nothing. If you're looking at this, let me pull up the stats real quick. Vidal was their leading. He had 1 catch for 60 yards. Keenan Allen, 3 for 22. Trey Harris, 1 for 18. Ladd McConkey, 1 for 12. Quentin Johnson, 2 for 8. Aronde Gadsden, 1 for 7. Will Dissly, 1 for 1. The Eagles secondary deserves a lot of credit. Before that BS pass interference that they called on Q, like, he wasn't targeted at all. Like, he didn't hear his name once the entire game. Cooper DeJean did a great job against Ladd McConkey. Had a kind of interception that was obviously overturned because of Moro Jomo being offsides. Locked up McConkey all day. And, I think it was the receivers coach for the Chargers in a press conference last week, or the offensive coordinator for the Chargers, I forget, was asked about, like, Cooper DeJean's a good slot, Ladd McConkey's a good slot, and then he was like, well, Ladd McConkey can beat anybody pretty much. Not word for word what he said. Cooper DeJean deserves a lot of credit for how he played yesterday. He was outstanding. That secondary is outstanding. Marcus Epps, a huge upgrade over Sidney Brown, which isn't hard.
We knew anything was better than Sidney Brown at this point.
Yeah. You could put a traffic cone back there. It's better than Sidney Brown. But yeah, like, the defense, I felt bad for the defense because they played their hearts out. And it was crazy. The first half, the Eagles had a 7-minute advantage in time of possession. And then, of course, the Chargers come out and have a 10-minute drive. And then the Eagles offense still kept going 3 and out, and they kept forcing the defense out there, and they still only would give up field goals, force punts. They did an outstanding job. And I felt bad about that defense. And if I'm them, like, the Eagles offense should be giving their paychecks to the Eagles defense. That's how good the Eagles defense was.
For sure. Again, they played 74 snaps last night. I think against the Bears, it was 70-some, and then against Dallas, it was 80-some. Like, that's insane. You, for 3 straight games, have forced your defense out there 70-plus snaps.
Yeah, and I apologize for cutting you off. I saw something out there that, like, the Eagles in the last 3 games have played 4 games. The Eagles defense in the last 3 games have played 4 games worth of snaps. Like, if you put the average, they're out there a ton. And obviously, what happened in the Bears game is going to happen when you're out on the field all the time. But, like, they were great against Detroit. They were great against Green Bay. They started off really good against Dallas and then kind of went downhill. But again, a lot of that was due to the offense. And then kind of the dam broke against Chicago. And then yesterday, they were outstanding again. After that opening drive, the Chargers could do nothing. And I know the Chargers' offensive line isn't good with Alt and Slater were out. They lost another lineman. But they took advantage, and that was without Jalen Carter. So if they can continue that play this week against another bad offensive line in the Raiders, maybe they'll have the same success. They had 7 sacks. That was outstanding. Forced
And
a
I
couple
think,
of turnovers.
They also had, I think it ended up being the top 3 games since Next Gen Stats started tracking for most pressures on a quarterback. They ended up
Like
at one point,
68%.
the record is 71%. And there was points in times where we were right there at 70, 71, 72% and about to break that record. Like, that's insane to have that much pressure on a quarterback, which I guess I want to shout out Justin Herbert. That man is tough as hell. And that offensive line is horrible. Like, it was a shame to watch.
And the one thing, like, Harbaugh, because he was asked last week, and they were asked, like, about Herbert's injury and, like, will you use him, like, with run? He goes, he's a quarterback. He'll be out there. We're tough. He's going to run the offense. And a lot of people were asking, how's he going to be under center? He went under center. He was fine. He took a bunch of hits. Like you said, he got hit about 68% of the time they pressured him. Got hit a lot. And he just kept getting up, kept battling. He made a couple of really, really good throws. But you're right. He does deserve a lot of credit for taking hits, getting back up, taking hits, getting back up. And there's no reason that he should have been the better running quarterback in yesterday's game. But here we are. He was.
Wait, I hopped on over to YouTube. There's a lively live chat, and we are not seeing it over here. So let me hit up some of these. So Billy Mead, our friend there, boys, y'all deserve a raise, a holiday, a straight razor shave, a golf weekend, everything for finding the energy to talk about this team today. Thank you. It is painful, I agree. Abid Sazad says, Nick is not a coach, maybe for college, but not for the NFL. And further to that point, Billy says Nick is fine-ish, but he doesn't have the ability to build a coaching staff, and he isn't a strong enough X's and O's guys to stop the bleeding when things go wrong. I'll pick up on that. I agree. Like, I'm sorry, Sirianni is a culture guy. Right now, I think he's in way over his head. The team, he's starting to lose control of the team this year. But I think that the biggest thing is he should not be allowed to hire anyone on staff anymore.
Oh, that's not happening ever
anyone
again.
Beyond an OC or a DC, like if he wants to bring in, a wide receivers coach or whatever, but any of those major like play calling roles should never be allowed. He's now brought in, I don't care if you want to point the finger at Jalen Hurts or say, oh, Jalen Hurts probably is more blame to take them than Kevin Patullo, but we're putting too much on Patullo. The point is, Nick Sirianni is now hired 2 failed play callers between 2 extremely successful play callers who were not hired by him.
No, yeah, and it's going to get to that point, and and the question's going to be, Sirianni going to be, I don't want to use the word egotistical, but be prideful enough to allow that, unlike Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson fell at the sword of Press Taylor in 2 different spots, by the way, in Philly and in Jacksonville. He wanted it to be Press Taylor. Press Taylor was his guy, and he lost 2 jobs because of it, pretty much. I wonder if Sirianni is going to be prideful and be like, no, I want Patullo, that's my guy. I want him to be the offensive coordinator. Then you know what Laurie and Roseman are going to do. They're going to fire him, and they'll find another puppet to bring in. They're never going to bring in a Harbaugh, somebody,
Tomlin,
Belichick, a person. I would love Mike Tomlin, by the way.
I know you would. That's why I brought his name up. But they would never hire a Tomlin because it just, I don't know if it fits.
It might not, but I would love Mike Tomlin. But like, something's going to have to change. Obviously, in the coach, changes are abound next year regardless, because they're going to have to, the defense is going to have to start getting paid. They're paid least right now, while the Eagles have one of the highest paid offenses, if not the highest paid offense in NFL history. Who knows what's going to happen with AJ? Who knows what's going to happen with Jalen? Who knows if Lane Johnson's going to come back after this year, if he decides to retire. They're definitely going to have to make changes. In the offense, this is where all the success that Howie has had drafting these defensive players, it's going to have to flip. You're going to have to draft linemen that can play. We need a right guard. Steen isn't it. I'm just going to say now, we need a right guard at the very least. Maybe even might need a right tackle depending on what happens with Lane. I'm probably going to need another receiver. Definitely need another tight end because Goddard's probably not going to be back. So, Howie's going to have to figure it out because Carter's probably going to get paid. Jordan Davis could potentially get paid. Nolan Smith could get paid. Maybe Nakobe Dean, maybe, if they decide to bring him back. I know we have Jahad Campbell. And then, you're going to get to Q and Coop. They might bring back Reed, unfortunately. Again, I'll say that because I'm not a Reed fan. But, They're going to have to start paying the defensive guys. So the script is going to flip when it comes to the money allocated to which side of the ball. Right now, it's all on the offense. It's going to change to where it's going to be on the defense, and you're going to have to bring young guys here. And is Jalen good enough? The big question is going to be this. Jalen has been really lucky. He went to Alabama, all-star team, like 5 stars all around. Went to Oklahoma, 5 stars all around. Came to the Eagles that first year with Sirianni, like he had Devontae, but still was throwing to what was Rager on the team or whatever, like or Quez Watkins, like that's who he was throwing to. And he got that team got willed to the playoffs and then got killed by Tampa. But then like they got AJ Brown. Ever since 2021, 22, it's been an all-star team. The big question is going to be what with the money he's making and could potentially get more if they decide to give him an extension and not get rid of him. Is he going to be able to uplift players not as good as AJ Brown,
Agreed,
as Dallas Goedert, as Saquon Barkley? Can he do that? That is going to be the big question. And with the way he's playing right now and with the limitations that he has or he's putting on himself, I don't know if he's going to be able to.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, you look at Josh Allen, you look at Patrick Mahomes, they elevate the players around them and the offensive around them. Can we trust? And this is what differentiates. This is why I was never, when the debate was going on, is he a top 5 quarterback or not? And we talked a little bit, brushed over it a bit. That's where you're going to differentiate. If he gets the opportunity to run a very young offense, not proven weapons, and he can carry an offense with those unproven weapons, cheaper weapons, younger weapons, then he's arguably a top 5 quarterback. If not, then he regresses to the mean of being, the back end of the top 10, if that. And the only thing that had him going in the right direction prior to, this stretch of really poor play for this team was that he was a winner. Him and Sirianni were winners, and that was one of the biggest things that they could hang their hats on. Now that they're a struggling offense, a struggling team, they're not winning at the same clip that they were winning up until, what was it, like 7 weeks ago, we were sitting there talking about, well, they're like 29-1 in their last 30 games. Now you can't hang your hat on that, because since then you've now lost 4 more games on top of that. And now like hanging your hat on being a winning quarterback is great. And obviously we want to win. I'm not going to give back going to the Super Bowl twice. We didn't win both of them, but I'm not going to give back that we went there. We came out of the NFC as the best team. He would argue, but he then went on to outplay Patrick Mahomes and arguably could be called, the best, one of the better quarterbacks for that playoffs and in that situation. But that's going to be a big telltale. Is he a guy that can elevate a team when the pieces and the assets aren't going to be around him? Because eventually, and maybe he's not going to be the guy to carry us to that point in time, because he's going to be doing extension here soon. Is he going to be the guy that we put our faith in, or that Howie and Nick Sirianni or whoever the coach is going to be, are they going to be the ones that put their faith behind him to elevate all these younger, cheaper players? It'll be interesting to see. Back to some of these discussion
People are talking
points
about mock drafts already. Let's not do that yet.
I agree. And then
I don't want to talk.
Somebody, I think, and then Abid says Howie needs some blame too. Obviously, I don't think that anyone's completely discounting Howie Roseman, but it's not like Howie Roseman didn't put together the right pieces. He's got an incredible team on paper that's out there. The issue is something's not working on the offense, and they left the keys to that to Nick Sirianni to make this hire, and things just aren't working out. So how can you put that? I mean, you could put it on Howie Roseman to say, you gave him a chance once, don't be fooled a second time. And now, bam, Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie was fooled a second time and letting Nick Sirianni hire a play caller. I mean, you could say Howie deserves some blame there, but he built the team. Like, there's a lot of quarterbacks, there's a lot of franchises out there who are sitting there still, even though we're 8-5, still extremely envious of the position that the Eagles are in and the assets that are around us.
Yeah, it's just like, obviously hindsight, being 2020 and whatnot, it's just like just the way that we have been playing and are playing, and it's just really frustrating, because sitting at 8-2, having a chance to win the division before December, and we're now in a spot where we have to potentially win 3 of our last 4 games, and while the Raiders aren't that good, 2 division games against Washington, and even if Jaden Daniels isn't playing, Washington would love nothing more than to play spoiler. And the way Buffalo's playing and the way Josh Allen played against Cincinnati the other day, like, that's going to be a tough game. Josh Allen is obviously really, really good, and they're fighting for their playoff lives. They have a big game against the Patriots this weekend, battling for the AFC East. And so that they're going to be battling, back and forth. Another underrated need for the Eagles is kicker, because Elliott missed another field goal. And I get it, he's a 2-time champion. He's been really good. But did you see Cameron Dicker, the kicker, yesterday? Like, nailing everything.
Elite.
And the Eagles did have him. He won NFC Special Teams Player of the Week the one year when we signed him when Elliott was hurt against Arizona. And then ended up going. I don't know if he went somewhere else before going to the Chargers, but found a way to the Chargers, and boom, the Chargers have one of the better kickers in the league. And just it's a shame because Elliott was good, and he makes that field goal. Who knows what happens?
Well, yeah, he makes that field goal. It's a 6-point game. They have to get a touchdown. They can't just get a field goal. And they go down
I'm talking about the field goal. Well, I'm talking about the field goal at the end of the half. That would have made it it would have made it a 10-9. It would have made it a 10-9 game instead of 10-6 game at halftime.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I was like. You need all the points you can get when your offense is struggling, and right now they don't have it.
And especially you can't just rely on, they need a field goal. It's so easy now, based on how the kickoff rule is and everything, to get into field goal position. You need those points to give yourself the edge that you can't just go and get within, because now most kickers, because we're talking about Jake Elliott who missed one, most kickers are automatic from about 50 yards. So you can pretty much march over. As soon as you pass over the center logo, you're pretty much in field goal range for the large majority of kickers in most favorable situations. And I mean, this LA is as favorable as it gets. It's practically a dome. There's no wind blowing through there. That's as favorable as it gets for you. And he wasn't able to hit that. And it was just a subtle, just something off about the kick. And I agree. Like there's a lot of needs. And I mean, we have someone in the chat already looking towards who do we use that 2 picks on? That we definitely need to use it on 2 offensive linemen. I'm not ready to look that far down the road yet, but
that was also a coaching thing. Like, you had 2 timeouts left in 10 seconds. You could have ran the ball to get closer and to put the ball in the center of the field, but Jalen take the snap, 3-step drop, and just throw it out of bounds. Like, that was pointless. You have 2 timeouts. Run the football with Saquon. Maybe he breaks it. Probably doesn't, but you never know. If he breaks it, he scores a touchdown, or get the ball into the center of the field. It was on the left hash, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, and he missed it to the left. So, like, be smart. Use your brain. And again, Sirianni's around for the vibes and to be the game day guy. His game day decisions, like end of the half, end of game decisions, have not been good over the last 5-6 weeks.
No, definitely. And then some more comments here. Cam Jurgens is awful and Landon is broken, says big country.
They're definitely both really hurt.
And yeah, like Billy says, they've just not been healthy all year. I'm not worried about Cam or Landon long term, just their bodies aren't right. I agree. I think, especially for Landon Dickerson, I go back and look at our episodes from pre-week 1 when they said Landon Dickerson's playing. I was 100% here screaming from the mountaintops, give him a couple weeks. You need him to be right at the end of the season, not right. Like, not within, the first 2 or 3 weeks. If he needs more time, let him do it. And I still think that the Landon Dickerson injuries and issues still stem from him coming back too soon at the start of the season. Like last night, the play that happened, he literally tripped over his own teammate and was all hobbled walking off the field. And Cam Jurgens, I think it's been very, very clear, he's not 100% from his back surgery. Not at all. He needs the full off season. And who knows, now he probably needs another surgery because he tried to push himself through this season. So God knows he probably needs some other type of surgery to get himself right again. But both of those guys, and I've talked about it week in and week out, and some people have been like, no, they're looking better, so that must mean they're better. No, I don't think, I would argue neither of these guys, and come the end of the year, I'm sure it'll be said, neither of these guys were 100% healthy in themselves at any point this season.
No, not at all. And and that's why, like, the running game is bad. The tush push doesn't work. And again, I still think right guard is a weak spot. They should have. I get it. Mekhi Becton wasn't that great against the pass, but he was a mauler in the run game. And the Eagles still consistently, even without Lane Johnson and with Steen there, like they're still trying to run to the right side, and I don't get it. Run to the left side. That's your apparent strong side, and yet they continue to run to the opposite side. Another game where Tank Bigsby only had 1 carry, 4 yards, and that's it. Like ever since when they had the 2 100-yard rushers against the Giants, they haven't put him out there. It's like they don't want to give him the opportunity. So when it got to overtime and the Eagles won the toss, did you agree with them going on defense first? I did. I much rather. Now I get it. I had mentioned. I was like, okay, after the half, the Chargers' first drive was like 9.5 minutes. That could potentially happen, and that kind of would end the game. But it didn't. I think I would much rather know what I need to get instead of you have the ball first and you go 3 and out, which the Eagles obviously have a propensity to do because they lead the league in 3 and out percentage, or like go kick a field goal and then they come down and score a touchdown and it's over. I had no issue with the Eagles going on defense first. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, but when it first happened, I was like, I would really like to see this offense just go out there and try and put the points up. And you can have faith in your defense probably making the requisite stop to get you the ball back again. But I do agree with you that at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? This offense obviously needs to know what they need to get, because if they put no points up, go 3 and out, and the Chargers get the ball, game's over with a field goal. So I think that I agree with you on that point. I think it was the right decision. I don't know if you can trust that this offense is gonna put up the points necessary in overtime. They should be the ones that have to be given the second chance. And they did look really good up until the interception. And even like if you look at the all 22, there's lots out there now of like freeze frames of the all 22. That play call was 100% meant to go to that side of the field and nowhere else. Because if you look at the left side of the field, none of the receivers were running any sort of meaningful route that would give you any indication that there was a backup plan. That was 100% where they were going on that play. And it was so, the Chargers, but, and I mean, I would like to also point out on this point, if that ball is tipped 10 times, and that play probably happens one time. Like it is the one time it happens had to be when it was against us. But that doesn't make that the play call, the play in general, the scheme of the whole play was terrible from the get-go. But to the same point, that felt from the very moment a ball that just had to be thrown away. Live to fight another down. You had 12 more yards to go. You could have run the ball. You could have done other things.
It was first and 10 from the 18, and it's not like there was less than a minute left. You had plenty of time. You didn't have to rush it, and it just seemed like Jalen
felt like the desperation, fourth down, it's all or nothing. But I mean, even if it was footed, they could have kicked a field goal. It would have been a tie and kept going. It felt like it was all or nothing. Like they were down by 6 and needed a touchdown.
Jalen thought Jahan was open, but he didn't expect the defender to drop back off of, I think Goddard was right there, and that's what he did. He could have dumped it off to Goddard too. He could have ran.
But that was the second time that day that he misread, because they dropped that lineman back into coverage in an earlier interception play.
He's not good against zone.
He's not.
And that's an issue. The fact that he couldn't see that, it wasn't even a linebacker. It was a defensive tackle.
It was a tackle that dropped back. It was, And
then he caught it. He fumbled it. Hurts got it. He fumbled it. Again, first time in NFL history, or first time I think it's the first time in NFL history a quarterback has ever had 2 turnovers on one play. Yeah, he went from 2 interceptions on the season to 6. He tripled his interception total. The guy and it's crazy because against the Bears, if you remember the interview he had at the beginning, he was asked, like, you're facing a Bears defense that leads the league in turnovers. He goes, well, we lead the league in not turning the ball over, and they've done nothing but turn the ball over since. Let's get back to playing clean football, and I don't know how they're going to fix the offense, but the offense needs to be fixed. So look, I'm a big AJ Brown fan. He's got 3 straight 100-yard games. He is 200 yards away from hitting 1,000, which is crazy considering the season he's had. And they're 0-3 in all those games. The Eagles stopped really prioritizing getting the ball to Devontae, and they haven't been able to win games since. Like, I get it. I get wanting to get AJ involved because he should, in theory, help the offense. But something hasn't been working the last couple of weeks. And
Mm-mm.
he's gotten the catches, he's gotten the targets, he's gotten the yards, gotten touchdowns, and they're still losing games. So hopefully, he can put his pride aside, which I know it's tough for him. Put his pride aside, and the Eagles can get back to, getting the ball to Devontae, getting the ball to Goddard. And I honestly don't care if it's a 17-16 game and Jalen has 100 yards passing. I just want to win a game. Like, this team needs a win more than anything, because if they lose, again, especially this week, then 4 in a row, it's over. Like, this season is done. The season is shot.
Especially to the Vegas Raiders. You cannot lose to the Raiders.
Yeah, the Raiders are terrible.
I don't even care.
And
like I said, leading into this show, I do not care. Like, what Vegas thinks that they clearly think this should be a blowout game. I will take a 3-point victory over the Vegas Raiders any day in this situation.
I would bet the house on the Raiders taking the point. The Eagles should not be a 11.5-point favorite over anybody.
Though that line is going to shift majorly, because you better put your money down tonight, because I bet that comes below 10 by game time, because there's no way it's staying that high.
That might be by a touchdown. Like, Brock Bowers is really good. Ashton Genty is good.
And it's Kenny Pickett, of course. So let's just prepare that Kenny Pickett's got some knowledge, and he's going to come and,
Kenny Pickett, revenge tour, Devin White, revenge tour, even Max Crosby's going to be playing. Like, it's crazy. They have players on that team. It's just, I think Pete Carroll's going to be one and done for them. We'll talk about that later this week, though.
Definitely. And I know there's a lot of talk going on about what we should draft. We'll talk about that in the off season. There's needs. We see it. There's needs. This team needs some help. There's some big decisions to come up from the contract perspective. There's a lot of talk back and forth about Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens in the chat. I think they need an off season. They need to if they need surgeries, get them done right away. Take the off season, get better.
This is what happens when you play deep into the year.
And if you're banged up at all in the off season, do not put yourself at risk. Take the requisite time, because this is a lesson learned for Landon Dickerson. Cam Jurgens, I think, needed quite a bit more time post-surgery, so I think Cam Jurgens was going to have to play through no matter what. But I think this is a lesson looking back at the Landon Dickerson situation. We needed you more now at 100% than we needed you healthy and at 100% weeks 1 through even 4, arguably. I'm sure we could have patchworked the left guard position more than left guard, center, and right guard, because right now it's just like, it feels like it's literally a patch job with those 3 guys at the interior, and it just looks even worse when you don't have Lane Johnson. And Jordan Mailata looked terrible last night too. Jordan Mailata's looked terrible all season. It's so
I will
bad.
say though that the penalty that he got called for, that holding on when AJ caught the touchdown pass, that shouldn't have been called.
No,
he didn't hold, and even Buck and Aikman were saying that was a bad call. So there was
a few bad calls, and we didn't even get to talk about the refs, mostly because I don't like to talk about the refs, especially in a game where you lost by 3 points. I promise you, we can point out a lot more situations. I can think of 3 on AJ Brown alone. We can point out a lot of situations that should have gone a different way, or could have gone a different and more favorable way for the Eagles, that we would never even have to worry about talking about the referees. So that's always where I stand, especially when it's less than a 1-score game. The refs did not do this to us. AJ Brown,
been absurd all year.
Do you think AJ Brown is giving up on this team? Do you think there just wasn't a whole lot? There was a lot of talk in the national media about not a whole lot of effort, and you can kind of tell, like, even him running routes, he's just kind of, it feels like he's just jogging. He's just out there getting paid and doing his job.
I mean, I will say some of the route combinations still suck.
Well, absolutely. We can't get over that.
There's a play where they did 4 hitches. Like, who does that? Even the first play or second play of the game that turned into the deep shot to AJ, like, his initial route was awful, and then he went down the field. Like, he doesn't run hard on every play, but I don't think he's given up per se. Obviously, I do think that there kind of was a handshake deal between him and Laurie, or him and Howie, that, look, get through this year, let's see if we can get to the playoffs, win another championship, and we'll do right by you, whether that means it's not going to be a contract extension, maybe a trade. Who knows? Now, I know the ramifications, the cap penalties there are the cap ramifications and dead cap and whatever are there. But Howie, would probably been able to finagle that if you restructure the contract or something to make it as little as possible. It's unfortunate too because I love AJ Brown.
I do too.
If he's not the best receiver in Eagles history, he's the second best receiver in Eagles history. I want him here as long as possible, but obviously he's probably not happy here. The only thing that could keep him here is if the Eagles change the quarterback maybe, but I don't know if that's going to happen either. I don't know what's going to happen, and obviously this is all off-season talk, and we don't want to worry about it.
And it's all predicated on how it finishes. If we make it to the playoffs and start to make a run, I don't think we see as much changes as people are still going to want to see. Because we do also know that A.J. Brown doesn't care about winning a championship. He won a championship last year. All he wants to do is dominate. And look, some people are like that. He got his ring now. He wants to be a Hall of Famer. I kind of can't blame the guy for wanting that. Is it unfortunate to an aspect? It is. But he has goals that everybody has goals that they set for themselves. His goal, maybe one of his goals was to win a championship. He got that over with. Now he wants the numbers or whatever. He wants to be a Hall of Famer, and maybe getting multiple championships could help with that. I mean, I would argue he's a Hall of Famer already. I don't know if he necessarily needs to pad the stats.
NFL Hall of Famer or an Eagle Hall of Famer?
I think
he's an Eagle Hall of Famer for sure.
I mean, I think he could be an NFL Hall of Famer, but I mean, he probably does need a few more stats added to the mix. But I mean, I don't think he necessarily needs to just solely worry about padding stats. But I mean, I agree with you. I think, I've seen some mock drafts just because they come up as I go, and one of the main first round picks that people are putting is Chris Bell, who is a 6'5", 5-pound wide receiver, very eerily similar to AJ Brown. People are mentally preparing for AJ Brown to be departing and that we have to replace him with a similar player.
They're not drafting a receiver in the first round.
I don't see that either. But Big Country says Eagles got to go 3-1 down the stretch. I think week 18 is going to be a big question mark. If it has to matter, we'll see. But I mean, the fact that if I was the Commanders, I'd be shutting Jaden Daniels down. Why you continue to roll him out there and put him at risk is beyond me. Zach Ertz just had his ACL torn on an absolutely disgusting hit that should never have happened. There's no reason to continue to roll Jaden Daniels out there. We should be seeing Marcus Mariota in 2 weeks' time. And of course, we're seeing Kenny Pickett, of course, could be back-to-back weeks where we see previous backups for the Eagles. But I mean, I still think that we should be able to beat both of those teams and hopefully Dallas loses one of those games and the magic number becomes far easier. But I mean, that's just my thought looking ahead. I would like to see us go 3-1, but I can see if we get help from other teams on the Cowboys side of it, I can see 2-2 being enough because week 18 won't matter. And I'm hoping it's that because a lot of these guys, especially on offense, I want to say need the rest because they're banged up, but should not get the rest because this offense is still not going to be right heading into the playoffs. So I agree, though. Eagles got to go 3-1 down the stretch. And I think that one loss would probably be the Buffalo Bills. They're playing for their lives. It'll really depend this week. I think, no matter what, they play the Patriots, but they're still going to be fighting for their playoff lives each week, whether they win or if they win, they have a good chance of winning the AFC East. If they lose, they're fighting for their playoff lives. So I still think they're going to really put it all on the line out there. And we know Josh Allen will for sure. So I think 3-1 is very important. You got to get those two Commanders games and that Raiders game for sure.
Yeah, and if they end up losing this Raiders game, then all hell breaks loose. Positivity rabbit, whatever vibes rabbit that's in the locker room should definitely be. It's going to make an appearance in.
It should be chopped down already. The vibes.
It's going to make an appearance in Hard Knocks tonight. It's going to make an appearance in Hard Knocks, and that's going to be embarrassing.
But I mean, what just saying? The Big Country says I haven't been this frustrated since Sam Bradford and Chip Kelly. I'm sure we can all agree. Although I think recent memory, I was far more frustrated recently with Brian Johnson, Jalen Hurts in that 2023 offense, and what all went down there as well. Then AJ's body language sucks. I mean, I agree. But I mean, if you're going to say that, you can argue Jalen Hurts' body language sucks too. This is a point for me where Jalen Hurts has to show some sort of emotion. We know that we saw that clip from Hard Knocks during the game where he goes up to Devontae Smith and says he should have made that play in the Chicago Bears game. But I still don't see enough. Like, I feel like he needs to start rallying the troops, and I feel like, he's not that type, and we've talked about his emotion and that he's maybe not going to show it. But, I mean, you can't just leave it to Nick Sirianni to rally the troops. There needs to be an inflatable bunny in the locker room. You can't leave it to those two things to get this offense together. This is where you need to see leadership from Jalen Hurts and him not just taking accountability. I don't care if you want to raise your hand and say, yes, it's my fault we lost. Yes, you're one of the biggest reasons. You had 5 turnovers by yourself, of course. But actually get people on board, stand behind your coach or with your coach and with this damn bunny rabbit, and bring the vibes and bring some hype and bring some energy to try and get this offense going in the right direction. But I mean, at this point, I don't think the offense is getting fixed this season. Like, you can patch it up enough to hopefully make some sort of run, but that's that mode. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a playoffs where it's building up to be some of the top, most elite defenses in the league, and it's going to be very reliant on whose defense can stand tall. Think about, like, the Eagles' defense. Think about the Broncos. Think about the Patriots and some of these defenses that are going to be in the playoffs that are currently, like, top of the game right now and are going to be huge in these playoff runs. The Texans, like, they're going to be massive, the defenses and what they play, and I can't think of a playoffs like it.
All I know is any defense going up against the Eagles offense right now salivating, and they usually have an easy week because it's such a simplistic offense. It's annoying. I'm tired of talking about this game. I'm done. Can't do it anymore. I can't. 3-game losing streak. They need to figure it out because
winning cures all, including more positive Kelly Green hours.
I don't know about all that. Depends on how they win, I guess. Yeah. We'll be back on Friday probably to get you set for the Eagles and the Las Vegas Raiders. Hopefully the Eagles can end this 3-game losing streak. As always, follow us on Twitter at Kelly Green Hour. Follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10. Follow me on Twitter at LJHurrell54. And follow the Eagles Pinpool Network on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you get your podcast at Eagles Pinpool Network. Thanks for all the comments. I don't know why they didn't show up in our chat, but whatever. We got it on
We got
YouTube.
you anyways.
Thanks for all the comments. Hopefully we see you again on Friday. For Connor, I'm LJ. Thank you for tuning in to the Kelly Green Hour.